In Russian, Kremlin means fortress. On the Moscow River banks, Kremlin of Moscow proudly imposes its power on Russia for about 700 years. Currently, this square fort built by the Tsars is home to the heart of Russian power.
A citadel, symbol of national authority, defended by 2 kilometers of walls and 1,000 armed soldiers.
Kremlin, a place among the most secured in the world. Behind these walls, a city within a city, where flamboyant churches are followed by the stately palace.
Among them, the most secret, the Grand Palais.
The official residence of the Russian head of state, in which it is so rare to visit. A haven full of history, where paneling and vaults gilded with fine gold adorn living rooms of unique pageantry in the world. 700 rooms, preserved over the centuries on more than 25,000 square meters.
And a jewel, the apartments of the Russian Tsars.
A legendary setting closed to the public, where a Frenchman has the privilege to freely move around. He is called Jérôme Rigaud. At 36, he runs the Kremlin kitchens. A work environment that impresses him always since his arrival 3 years ago.
This is the view I have every morning, with a change, now and then with winter when everything is snowy. It's a privilege to work there. When you think about it, it's a privilege. It's very beautiful. At the very beginning, I was watching this with the eyes of a child. It's a great opportunity to see that.
By becoming a chef of the Kremlin kitchens, Jérôme also had the opportunity to become a member of one of the most select clubs in the world, the Chef's Club of Chefs. The Frenchman is now among the 40 cooks of the 40 heads of states, the most powerful on the planet, like Barack Obama or Angela Merkel.
Each year, these diplomatic cuisine elites become ambassadors of gastronomy of their country.
In a few days, it will be Jérôme Rigaud's turn to receive his colleagues behind the scenes of Kremlin. You have to cover the bread with towels to avoid humidity.
Go ask for paper napkins on the other side.
Before receiving the Chef's Club of Chefs in Moscow, Jérôme Rigaud organizes tonight a dinner of the utmost importance. In few hours, the Russian President Dmitry Medvedev receives his colleague, Belorussian, Alexander Lukashenko, in the oldest room in the Grand Palais. This masterpiece from the 15th century is called the Faceted Palace. A stately setting where each fresco tells of a biblical scene. Here, Tsar Ivan the Terrible organized his most luxurious banquets. A historic place where the French chef often serves the greats of this world.
We had the opportunity to cook a meal for 8 presidents. At the end of the meal, they all came to shake our hands.
To have 8 presidents coming to see you, it's something special. We don't forget, it's a source of pride, a prestige. It's very hard, but when you see the environment, it's great. Not everyone goes in there. It only happens once in a lifetime. An even greater honor that Kremlin did not have a French chef since the last Tsar Nicholas II. A change decided by the President Dmitry Medvedev himself.
Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev.
When he came to power on May 7, 2008, the Russian president wants to renew the imperial tradition, combine high gastronomy and diplomacy. An alchemy that Dmitry Medvedev showed with pride since his inauguration to numerous hosts, as to his Chinese counterpart Hu Jintao on May 9, 2010. For this meeting at the summit, 500 guests were honored to be received at the St. George Room, the palace's largest.
Accompanied by choirs of the Red Army.
An exceptional and sumptuous diplomatic meeting, where the art of receiving rhymes with excess. In the Russian house, regardless of the number of guests, the dishes must be delicate.
A challenge that the French chef has been taking on for 3 years.
Jérôme Rigaud's kitchens are located within the Kremlin compound, in this modern building built in the middle of the Cold War.
The building is ultra-secure.
On each floor, the Kremlin guards keep watch. In an exceptional universe, extraordinary working conditions for this young chef from Perpignan.
2,000 square meters of kitchen spread over 3 floors.
Banquet days like today, bakers, confectioners, and cooks work up to 18 hours a day. To run his brigade of 30 people, Jérôme Rigaud learned Russian in a few months. I want 130 dishes of meat and 125 g of fish. All the rest spread on 2 bases because in 30 minutes, understood? On presidential reception, the pressure increases a notch in the kitchen. In 5 hours, the dinner in honor of the Belarusian president will begin. A banquet for 100 people for whom the chef has provided mainly seafood. This menu required 2 weeks of development.
When we receive a foreign president, we receive a fax with their preferences. What he likes, what he doesn't like, if he is allergic, diabetic, if he follows a diet or not.
Behind I prepare my menu. I give it to the head of protocol, who reads it, shows it to the president, and the last to validate it is the president. On the menu, the president chose tonight grilled prawns in their Parmesan basket, a squid risotto with ink cuttlefish, grilled turbot, and steak.
All preceded by a dozen traditional appetizers, including the famous borщ, the poor man's soup in Russia.
A mixture of onions, carrots, beets, coriander, and potatoes that the Frenchman has the audacity to mix.
There it is, to my liking, good consistency. Flawless. The president, Mr. Medvedev, is a foodie. He asks a lot of questions about what he eats. He is concerned. He won't object even if it is a product that he doesn't originally like. He is curious though and will taste to give us his opinion. For us, it's interesting. It's a success to be able to serve gourmet and bring menus the president to ask questions about what he eats. It's not just about sitting down, eating, and leaving.
In 3 years, Jérôme succeeded the tour de force of interest, the Russian president at fine gastronomy while revolutionizing state cuisine.
In memory of Yuri, chef at Kremlin for 30 years, we've never seen that.
The Soviet Union, it was really special. We were doing only Russian cuisine. We made whole sturgeons. They were placed whole on the tables. We cooked bears, dares, whole wild boars. It was different, very solemn.
When he started here, it was really Russian cuisine. Now we're on European cuisine, adapted to the Russian system.
Are you happy to have a French chef today?
Yes, it's very interesting.
These images from 1957 testify the gigantism of official receptions given to the Kremlin under the Soviet regime.
At the time, ration tickets were distributed to the people. But at the Grand Palais, President Khrushchev wants to impress his 1,000 guests by the richness and abundance of the dishes he makes them serve. 3 to 4 kilos of food are served per guest. And no matter the quality, as long as we get drunk. Today, to remain regal, major Kremlin receptions, like that of tonight in honor of Belarus, have evolved a lot. However, in the kitchen, some draconian rules inherited from communism are still felt. At each banquet, the French chef must deal with the fear of the Kremlin, poisoning of the president. A fairly common practice here since the 16th century. So, to avoid it, in the kitchens, the Eye of Moscow is called Ludmila, a doctor, member of the guard closer to Dmitry Medvedev. What is this? I'm going to have a taste.
Like the tasters of kings from France, Ludmila tastes everything. Not a dish from tonight's dinner will escape her expert taste buds.
Okay. I can take this cup of red cabbage.
In addition to poison, she checks the hygiene and freshness of the products that could affect the health of the president and his guests.
Okay, that's fine.
A visit, rather deterrent.
You know, for us, all the guests are important and we care about their health. But of course we care especially when it comes to the president. We have just won.
In case of poisoning or intoxication, foods would be analyzed accurately, and Jérôme Rigaud could be designated as responsible.
More pressure that the boss had to accept.
We work for presidents, there must be maximum security. We can't afford a president gets ill with food poisoning. Everything is controlled. It's not a state secret, all countries are like that. It's so that everything be done according to the rules, let there be no issue in terms of food, we add nothing at the very last, all was tested well before the banquet.
In the Kremlin, the other psychosis are theft and corruption.
10, 11, 12.
The quantity of food served during receptions must match exactly what was delivered.
Everything is weighed. Absolutely all. All foods from A to Z are weighed. It is a permanent check which is very old in Russia. Like this, there is no theft. As much on the quantities we serve, if we serve less, then there's a problem, and if we serve more, there is also a problem. Where we get the goods from, this allows to have some control. It's the Russian system. Everything is weighed.
In case of food theft, the French chef would be held personally responsible and would risk being fired.
On the shoulders of Jérôme Rigaud, the pressure is considerable. Despite all, he was able to get into the culinary history of the Kremlin, play with traditions, and use the innumerable treasures preserved in the arcane of the presidential palace.
After you. How many plates are there in all here? For example, on this shelf, how many are there?
Here we have 12 batteries of 40 plates. That's 480. So 500 to the ladle, there too.
With the other cabinets, that must be 20,000, right?
You shouldn't ask me things like this. I am not a computer.
I think we should have about 20,000 plates here, all inclusive, with different models. We would approach 20,000.
Tens of thousands of plates for gigantic banquets. On these dishes, no gilding or fantasy, nothing evokes the imperial pomp of the Tsars of Russia. The dishes are wanted simple and austere, in the image of Soviet rigor that ruled the Kremlin for 70 years. On every official trip of the Russian president, protocol requires that the French chef takes along this impressive collection.
When we're on the move, when we have banquets, at 3, 5 or 7 hours of flight, we bring along everything. Knowing that a box is equivalent to 1 glass, and that we have about 5 to 6 glasses per person, so, if ever we're leaving with 500 people, you count 6 drinks per person, that's already 3,000 glasses for you to bring. Plus the ones in reserve because there may be breakage. You pretty much count 4,000 glasses to load, that is to say, 4,000 boxes to load with us. That's just for the glasses. I'm not talking about plates, cutlery, cooking, products, oven, etc. It's a totality, a globality.
Today, no big trip, in 2 hours, 100 guests will be seated at the Grand Palais, 400 meters from the kitchens. In the reception room, the main dishes are already arriving. Chef Rigaud comes to check the borscht soup installation, in the middle of the buffet. Don't turn on all the burners just in case where guests would be late. Cooking and protection of food are Jérôme's obsessions. Whatever the time at which dinner will start, the dishes must have kept their freshness and be served at the right temperature. As I said to Pasha, you taste borscht from time to time, because if the guests are 2 hours late, it should not get too hot, else it will be too condensed, too salty. So you turn the thermostat to 4. But Jérôme's biggest concern is in another room further away. The prestigious Red Room.
Tonight, for reasons of confidentiality, Dmitry Medvedev, his Belarusian counterpart, Alexander Lukashenko, and their ministers will have dinner here out of sight.
The French chef ensures that the table was set up according to protocol.
For crystal glasses, including 1 for vodka and 12 silver cutlery.
Jérôme also takes the opportunity to view the table plan with pride.
It's all settled. Everyone will know his place with the labels.
There is just one place without name. That is where the president is going to be, because it is he who receives. His name is never placed on the table. There is the Russian president, the first minister, the president of Belarus. It's an honor. At backstage, Dmitry Medvedev's ballots and security services are in turmoil. Alexander Lukashenko just walked through the doors of the Kremlin. The diplomatic meeting begins officially under the eyes of the cameras, the time of a head-to-head protocol. Marguerite, are you preparing potatoes? In the kitchen, it's the beginning for Jérôme and his team. Each of the 30 cooks knows his role at their fingertips.
A broom, where the least incident would put at risk the smooth running of the banquet.
If an oven no longer works, I pack my suitcase and leave. I am in charge of the banquet, so if an oven breaks down, it would be that I didn't test it before. If I don't have an alternative, I am dead. I take my suitcase and I'm leaving.
Although he cooks more than 100,000 dishes per year for Kremlin banquets, the pressure is always as strong.
In 1 hour, the chef and his team will repeat an exploit, serve at temperature and at same time the president's dishes and the 100 guests, in just 40 minutes, the official state meal duration in Russia.
We know we have 40 minutes to serve. It's up to us to manage. We're not going to overtake. If I assume that I wouldn't have time, I see the head of protocol. I tell him we won't have time to serve this entire menu on time. We remove a dish, but we have to respect the time limit. It's not even a question to be tabled. That's the way it is.
40 minutes to serve 500 plates. An even shorter time frame that the presidential dinner will take place at the other end of the Kremlin.
3 plates of salted vegetables, 3 green olives, 3 lemon slices.
The chef's solution: prepare and cook the foods here before packaging them. A piece of work on the chain on 10 long tables, and no less than 30 people to load everything on carts.
The ingredients are delivered to other cuisines, located near the banquet hall, where they will be warmed and arranged on plates. After the guests, Jérôme Rigaud is now in charge of the table of the president. Security requires that the boss is the only one allowed to cook consumed dishes by Dmitry Medvedev and those who will have dinner at his table, under the control of a doctor of the head of state.
Jérôme, we're going to pack the cart with cellophane.
No, I have other products that are going to arrive.
Really?
Yes, but I won't leave them on the table. It's for the president. I'm still missing things. Here, there will be shelf with meat and just below, one with fish. Now we close. They are the products we're going to use for the president's table, so that there is no mixture with other products, etc. They have been tasted by doctors. There mustn't be errors in between both.
A whole cart under cellophane. Another strict and deterrent measure to avoid poisoning the president.
Come on, let's go Volodya.
The ingredients and the presidential dishes presidential wrapped now leave via the underground to a secret office, where the chef will cook behind closed doors under the watch of 2 Kremlin military doctors.
I go through places that are not open to the public. It's part of the Kremlin, it's the Kremlin compound, but we have passages to access the kitchens. The chef will not be allowed to reveal more of its prerogatives. This evening, the banquet in honor to Belarus under tight security will remain confidential. It's 10 p.m., and Jérôme Rigaud received congratulations from President Medvedev. It's the end of a marathon day, 17 hours in a row for the chief and his team. This frantic pace was almost fatal to Volodya last year. At 55, the second chef had a heart attack and collapsed at the foot of his stoves.
One morning, upon arrival, he had a heartache, sweats, and then he had a heart attack. Whatever happens, we feel at fault. We think about why this happened. Do we have him work that much? It doesn't just happen like that. I know he is an Epicurean who likes to eat, but I think it's a whole, but we still feel a lot of guilt. It's hard, but hey, we get used to it. It's a rhythm to have, it's like a top athlete. There are trainings to respect, the matches to be played. We know that there is a graph to respect. Now, it's true that when I get home, if we talk about private life, sometimes I check my schedule when I am home. I know that in 4 or 5 hours, I have to get up. It's silly to say, but I'm going to maybe avoid eating, because it's going to waste more time. I should get some sleep so that tomorrow I will be in good shape. So yeah, we'll eat tomorrow. We manage our time. Have a nice evening. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Since arriving at the Kremlin 3 years ago, Jérôme only took 10 days vacation. Tonight still, he will be the last to leave the kitchen. In Moscow, Jérôme Rigaud lives in a company apartment in the heart of the Russian capital. 90 square meters where he lives almost alone.
I have 2 cats, Lily and Messi.
My cooks know that I love animals. Last year, they gave me a first cat, and 2 months ago, the second gift, the younger brother. It makes a presence in the house. A presence that fills a big void. Jérôme is more often in the Kremlin kitchen than in his, and it's obvious. My fridge is empty, I almost have nothing to eat. On the other hand, the funny thing is, I have a dishwasher, which is not plugged in, and yet I've been here almost a year.
It's all inside. It's been a year that I am here. I have never used it.
Before managing Dmitry Medvedev's kitchens, this young chef has had a unique career, to which he has some memories. Passionate about rugby as a teenager, he dreams of a career in sport. But at the age of 19, all his hopes are dashed after a serious knee injury. Without a diploma, he then tries apprentice chef training. Very quickly, he integrates the kitchens of top Michelin-starred chefs, like Pierre Troisgros and Joel Robuchon. In 2004, Jérôme accepted a position of chef in a restaurant in Moscow. He leaves his family and region for experience a unique adventure here. I said at that moment to my mother, "I'm leaving. Don't think I'm going to come back in a week." I took the option to leave.
That's it, I made a choice.
I'm leaving, and I think I will make a career abroad for a while. Now I am not ready, I think, to return to France. France is my country. I know that I can return at any time. As an expatriate, Jérôme Rigaud probably did not imagine becoming a Slavic gastronomy ambassador. However, in a few days, the French chef will do Russia honor to about 20 of the 40 chefs of chefs, the cooks of the great leaders of this world. A challenge for Jérôme, who has entirely organized the trip of his colleagues.
I'm going to try to make them discover Russia, 3 days in St. Petersburg and 3 days in Moscow. We're going to spare them a show of luxury, as they are all of President's chefs. They all work in luxury, so showing them Russian life, Russian system, culture, and all that.
To offer to them what is being done better in his adopted country, Jérôme is going to visit the suppliers, who regularly supply Kremlin banquets. Today he is traveling 2.000 kilometers from Moscow in one of the most beautiful regions of the country. He has an appointment with a winemaker, who makes the favorite drink of Russian leaders. Abraou-Diourso, near the Black Sea, a village in the heart of the Russian south. This peaceful spot on the edge of Lake Abraou is home to an earthly paradise. From the hills to the lush vineyards stretch as far as the eye can see. An extremely fertile land where since 1870 Grand Crus from Champanskoye are born.
A sparkling white wine close to our champagne. Andrei Kaboyan is the guardian of this renowned winery.
Hello, I'm good, thanks, and you?
For the Kremlin, the Frenchman is responsible for controlling the quality of the products served at official receptions. Twice a year, he comes here to watch the production of the imperial vintage, the most prestigious of the domain.
It's interesting for me to come and see how people, the products we are going to put on the president's table.
It's interesting to see people, to meet them, to understand their work, and then you see the product differently once we touch it. A product made in respect to traditions. Here, every autumn, 200 pickers pick the grapes by hand on more than 500 hectares. A delicate work to preserve these grapes with golden reflections.
What is the secret of these vines? Is it the soil? Is it the climate?
The secret is the rocks. They are also used to make cement and contains clay. Their specificity is that they store heat during the day to give it back to the grapes at night and thus protect the vines from the cold. There's the secret. It's a big secret.
Stones that protect the vines from huge temperature drops every winter. This very popular nectar of Russian politicians is assembled in the estate factory below the hills. Bottle wrapping, destined for the president's table, is entirely handmade. A goldsmith's work to be dignified major Kremlin receptions. Come on, we're going to have a taste.
Jérôme came to taste the future Grand Crus. Tests that the French chef is going to do in an amazing place.
The cellars of the domain, a gigantic labyrinth where 9 million bottles are kept. Tunnels built in the 19th century based on the model of the Moscow metro. 5 km labyrinth where the bottles travel on strange rails. You know, these tunnels, it's our whole life. You work in your universe.
Well, here it's a bit like our own kitchen.
To obtain the name Cubi Imperiali, sparkling wines have to age for a minimum of 6 years in these cellars.
What year is it from? This one is from 2008.
It is a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. It is only 3 years old, it is still a young wine.
It's true that now, semi-finished, it's good.
Jérôme, before you leave, I would definitely like show you something. A very private reserve. Personal bottle collection.
The other treasure of the Abraou-Diourso estate is in these niches. Each of them contains exceptional vintages, reserved by the most great fortunes of Russia.
Here is Putin's cellar.
Among the illustrious customers of the domain, Vladimir Putin.
In 2004, at the start of his second presidential mandate, Putin came with friends to inaugurate his private reserve.
Since then, it has been preserved religiously in this little alcove. You see, on this bottle, there is the signature of Vladimir Putin. Putin stock, this bottle, is priceless. In the world, there aren't two alike. Its value is inestimable. A cellar so precious that a guard monitors it at all times.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jérôme. Goodbye.
Jérôme Rigaud is the best domain client. Each year, he orders some 10,000 bottles at the Abraou-Diourso domain for presidential receptions.
Back in Moscow.
For the visit to Russia of his colleagues, chefs of heads of state, the Frenchman chose to present another flagship product. He sometimes cooks in the Kremlin. The chef stops at the Marie, the most famous fish wholesaler in the capital. Hello, sir. Are you all right? I am fine, and you? So are we here to do some shopping? Jérôme meets Wade Bari, a Tunisian, number 2 in the company.
We just received the products.
Here is the long-awaited arrival, in these boxes, the famous Sakhalin crab. A more than 1 meter behemoth, with exceptional flesh, whose weight may exceed 15 kilos.
It comes from an island located in the Sea of Japan, off the coast of Siberia, at the other end of Russia. It's a product that covered 9.000 kilometers. There you go, please. How comes that it arrives alive? It's the packaging that makes it arrive alive, because it's packed in boxes with wet dishcloths, as it needs humidity. I often order for pliers. At the level of the flesh, it's full, it's juicy. There is practically no loss in the area of the tweezers. We manage to have nice pieces. Really, I use them a lot. Sakhalin crab, very popular in the Kremlin, still has a little effect on the president's guests. Gently. This giant of the seas can be cashed at the price of gold, 80 euros per kilo. Some can reach 1.500 euros.
It's worth that price. If you have the opportunity to taste it, it has nothing to do with the meal we have in France.
It's a royal taste with a royal award.
In the Kremlin, crabs will be served in carpaccio, in salads, and sometimes whole. If Russian leaders love it, it's because it crushes all competition, especially that of its Breton cousin, the spider crab. The long-awaited day by Jérôme is finally here. His colleagues at the very prestigious Chefs Club of Chefs have just arrived for a 6-day visit to Russia. From the start, the young Frenchman wants to dazzle them. So he chose to start the journey by the Tsar's birthplace, St. Petersburg. This encounter, marked with the seal of haute cuisine, starts at the Grand Hotel de l'Europe, one of the country's finest palaces, through a very official photo session.
Okay. You go.
You're going to get makeup. Go on, Christian, go get your makeup done.
To immortalize this meeting, a little beauty treatment is needed for this select cast. By order of appearance, Mark Flanagan, head chef by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Christian Garcia, head of the kitchens of Prince Albert II of Monaco.
Bernard Vauchin, in the kitchen of the Elysee for almost 40 years. Finally, Christetta Comerford, the Obama family staff cook and chef of the White House.
You know, it's kind of felt really pampered because normally we're the ones who are in the back helping set up a stage somewhat, but it's really nice to represent, our country. It's very honoring. I think it goes for all of us here, being the members of the club.
Each of these great chefs has done the honor from his country to the other members of the club. A year ago, the 40 cooks discovered China and its wealth. Every year, we go to a country and we are very well received. I have to do it very well here as well. You must not miss it. I am the one inviting everyone. We don't have the right to make mistakes. Like banquets, it's the same. It's self-love that's at stake. All week long, the Frenchman became the Russian ambassador. A huge challenge when you know that the club's tradition also wants that the head of state of the organizing country receives the cooks during their stay. The aim would be to meet the chairman. I am still waiting for his response. It would really be the icing on the cake if he would agree to meet us. I think he's going to do it, but nothing is a foregone conclusion.
Jérôme made a request with Dmitry Medvedev and is still waiting for his response.
Let's go on the bus.
Okay.
It's okay, we haven't fallen behind. It's Russia. The program is loaded. The Frenchman has simmered to stay rich in history and heritage. At St. Petersburg, he offers to chefs and their families a trip on the canals of the Neva, what were worth to the former capital of the Tsars the title of Venice of the North.
Come on, a kiss for your children.
A stopover is planned at the famous Hermitage Winter Palace, a majestic building, today one of the largest museums in the world, where chefs will admire the rich collections of Empress Catherine II.
It is magnificent.
I don't know where to look first. It's incredible, really incredible. I've never seen so much guilt in one room. It's fantastic.
It really is a chance of a lifetime to see an original Leonardo da Vinci painting. It's quite amazing.
Works and sets that become a source of inspiration for our chefs, like this gigantic throne room.
All of the knowledge is fascinating. Hopefully we get to celebrate that sometime in the White House soon, and that knowledge will help me prepare a menu and a plan, definitely.
I'm in heaven.
From history and gastronomy. On the program every evening, sumptuous gala dinners with champagne, chamber orchestra, and Russian ballet.
The service is exemplary. We are in the conditions where we get our respective patents, princes or queens. So it's still not bad. It's a certain privilege, though.
Chefs treated like kings. Jérôme Rigaud's bet is about to be successful.
This enchanted interlude will continue in Moscow. The Frenchman, who predicted a discovery behind the scenes in the Kremlin, is worried. He still hopes that the chefs will be received by the Russian president, but the protocol did not confirm the meeting. However, some have brought gifts for Dmitry Medvedev.
Okay.
Is this the gift you want to offer to the president? I have to first give it to the protocol. They're going to chat, then they'll tell you if it's good or not.
The chef takes the club to the Grand Palais. The Kremlin part prohibited to the public. For his colleagues, he aimed to open the most beautiful rooms. Usually, these corridors are solely meant for the president and his guests. A huge privilege for chefs of chefs and their families.
Didn't you make this visit? No, that's where I do all meals. You're going to see all the rooms. In each room, I make meals. The cooks of the greats of this world discover the pomp of the ceremonial halls, where Jérôme Rigaud organizes presidential receptions.
You'll see, it's another world. Always the chandeliers. Look at that.
First surprise, the huge St. George room, capable of accommodating 100 people during official meals. On the ceiling, impressive chandeliers in 4-ton bronze. A magical room that amazes the head chef at the Elysee, yet accustomed to luxurious palaces.
It's superb. It's just the first piece and it's already impressive. In size and all these sumptuous chandeliers, very impressive, compared to us. With us, it's very small. The Elysee is still human-sized, really a small house. Here, we can already see that there is magnitude.
During the visit, the chefs take the extent of Jérôme's work to each of the banquets that take place in these rooms. Like the head of the Elysee, the one in Monaco is even stunned.
It's impressive what I see there. The banquet room where they do galas for up to 1,000 people. Our throne room seats a maximum of 82 people. So it's quite impressive.
The throne room in the Kremlin, here it is. The most sumptuous from the palace. The emblem of Great Russia's power, where Stalin had chosen to organize the Supreme Soviet in the 1930s.
A magical place where you can still admire the imperial throne and its canopy dressed in ermine.
One gets the impression that the ladies of the great era in big dresses are going to come out in a moment. It would be nice. It would blend really in the decor. We are a little out of the mark.
I'm amazed.
I can't believe we had the honor of freely visiting this palace. It's a real chance to be able to admire these wonders. Jérôme made us an incredible surprise.
Really pleasantly surprised by that.
Chefs are won over by the splendor of the Kremlin. It's just left the Russian president to make an appearance so that everything is perfect. In the anteroom of power, security services are being deployed. A sign that does not deceive for Jérôme Rigaud. The president has just arrived. The interview is about to take place.
We're going to see the president. Let's go down.
Jérôme won. He asks the cooks to cross the huge corridors of the Grand Palais in the opposite direction.
Once is not usual, the chefs will be welcomed, like heads of state, by the strong man of Russia. a perspective that seems to intimidate them.
The President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Dmitry Anatolyevich Medvedev.
Hello everyone, dear friends, I'm you welcome to the Kremlin. Your mission is of the utmost importance, because you receive the chefs of state from all over the world. Your work is essential. Thanks to your talent, you managed to create an auspicious atmosphere for political negotiations. So, once again, welcome and have a nice day in Russia.
A tribute that goes straight to the heart of cooks. Greeting them one by one, Dmitry Medvedev agreed to reverse the roles and to respond to the invitation of his chef. A proud moment that erases all of Jérôme's regrets.
My dream was to open a brewery, so I stopped gastronomy, and lo and behold, 5 years later, we meet again. It's
Life is
destiny.
made like that. It is even exceptional. In addition to being able to share with the other chefs, it's a very big pleasure for me.
Since the filming of this documentary, Jérôme Rigaud went to other horizons. But the duration of a presidential mandate, he would have allowed the Kremlin to reconnect with the French art of living, once so dear to Russia the Tsars.